I want you to imagine your worst day at the office in your career. Let's go career. Why not, right? Maybe you lost your biggest client days before you were set to close on a new house. Maybe you were questioning why you even got into this industry in the first place. Now, I want you to imagine that you're in a ravine 30 feet down from the road and nobody can see you. Both of your legs are shattered. Your organs are like a hot mess. And you're trying to figure out what to do. Suddenly, that hard day doesn't seem quite the same now, doesn't it? Our next guest is Jay Choquette. He's with X8 Marketing, and this happened to him, and we're going to hear how he turned that into a whole other thing. He also founded the nonprofit AmptUp.org to help amputees moving forward. There's a lot that's hard in this industry, and sometimes getting a little, we'll just kind of call it motivation, and a little bit of suck up buttercup helps us to do our job better. I'm Susana Gibb, and this is A Long Game. Thanks for being here.
You're about to drop some J gold, and I want to grab it.
So comfort in your office and at your desk and in your spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We spend probably, I would imagine, knowing you and knowing myself, you are probably like me in that you spend probably 80% of your life in your office. And think about that, right? 80-20 rule. If you're spending 80% of your life in somewhere where you're not happy,
Yeah.
that's going to have a drastic effect on every other aspect of your life. So, buy the plant, buy the neon sign, like make your office your cozy place, right? There's a reason why every animal out there, and I'll make a lot of references because I look at human beings as mammals because we are.
We are.
And because we're mammals, we have certain natural tendencies. I won't name all of them, but like all mammals, right? If we don't get these natural tendencies out in healthy ways, they come out in unhealthy ways. That's why physical activity is important. How we handle our relationships and our intimacies are important. How our environment that we spend most of our time in is important. And if it's not, if we're not happy in it and we're not enjoying it, and you're not comfortable, right? If your desk is not comfortable, you are messing up.
Right. Well, I think the other thing is like, well, it's fine, right? It's just where I work, right? So you start to make these excuses and then suddenly you're like, why am I miserable? And you can't quite put the two things together. There's like lots of micro decisions, which that's going to come back in a minute, all the little micro decisions. So,
Yeah.
Jay, welcome. I'm so
Hi.
glad that you said that you would do this for me. Thank you. And before we go anywhere, I just want to give listeners who don't know you a 30-second version of you, who you are in normal life before June 2023 and before who is Jay Choquette? Is it Choquette? Am I saying it right?
Choquette, yeah.
Okay.
So
On an average Tuesday. Are you Cajun?
well, my family is actually French and French Canadian.
Okay.
But I come from the Bobby Boucher side of the family. I didn't come from like the definitely not the royal side here. I came from the cheap side of the tracks. Before June, I could say that, the one thing I've always been, and I think the one thing I always look for in the people around me in life is being genuine. Even regardless of what version of me I've been, or I think what version any of us have been in our lives, I think being genuine is the most important one for me personally, because there's this mask that we put on when we walk into rooms. And there was a point in my life where I was bullied a lot as a kid. And it's what caused me to become who I later became in life. It caused me to become a fighter. It created the resilience that saved my life. It created a lot of things in me, but most importantly, it created this need to be genuine, because we talk, right, like you were just talking about, like, the little micro things, right? I talk about like the micro stresses. Every time you like have to just fake it, make it through it, it just takes a little piece of your soul every little time. And human beings are so beautiful when they allow themselves to be. And I'm like, why mute that? Right? Like, get it, get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I am definitely not everybody's cup of tea. Right? And and at some point, right, I decided, hey, you know what? That's okay. And
Well, if you don't let yourself be who you are, then the people who they think you're their cup of tea, and then suddenly you relax, then they're like, wait, that you aren't who I thought you were. So it's like, well, might as well just start out. Like, let's just start
right.
out here versus land here later.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, so many people do that in relationships, right? They've been in a relationship for 5 years and they're just now getting to know their partner because they're just now starting to take the mask off. And I'm like, wow, you just did both of you a massive disservice in your life because you wasted so much time where you people can't make good decisions on bad intel, right? Like if your data's not good, if your information's not good, if who you're dealing with isn't genuine and honest and real with you, then you can't make a fair and honest decision on how to handle the situation or how to work with it. And that applies not just in life, but in obviously in our businesses and in work as well. And so for me, that's the big thing is that I'm obnoxious. I talk too much because I get too excited. My ADHD takes over. I interrupt people too much sometimes, and I try not to. But I can assure you that you will always get the most genuine form of me, no matter what part of life we're in. Because I just one day I just decided to take the mask off, and I didn't ever want to put it back on. And I don't know. That's just if I want to say who I am, that's really who I am. So yeah, so I was bullied a lot when I was a kid. It caused me to, get into wrestling and then get into fighting later on. I was an MMA fighter and then became a jiu-jitsu world champion later on in life, in my division. But the funny thing is that the accomplishments that I had in life, uh, also caused me to swing the other way, right, and become arrogant. And I've spent a large part of my life struggling with getting that arrogance back in check and balancing it. And I don't push religion on anybody, but there's this phrase where they say, if you don't humble yourself, God will do it for you. Hi,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proof of
Mm-hmm.
that. um, but yeah, I've had moments as a person, as a man, where I've been too arrogant, and I've had other moments when I've been too meek. And I think I'm just a human just trying to figure it out like everybody else.
Yeah, this is your first life you're living.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, man, we don't have enough time to get into that discussion.
Well, that's true. I heard that phrase recently. It was kids talking to my older kids were giving my younger kids grief. And one of the other kids was like, stop messing with him. This is his first time learning this. And I was like, well, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's having to relearn it. Okay. So walk me. I've heard your story. You came and gave this to us and I loved it. Will you tell your story for me, Jay? Will you give me story time, please? And for our
Sure.
audience,
Uh,
I'm just going
okay.
to let you go because I've heard it and I will interject with questions because I do have some actually now that I've heard it once and I've told it a couple times and I was like, I wonder what this thing is and I'm going to wait till we get there. So
Okay.
tell me about
So,
your day, your good day.
so, so, apologies in advance, to some listeners. This may be a stressful story in some parts, and so I apologize for that in advance. But yeah, so I am now 44 years old. I was 44, 41 years old at the time, almost 3 years ago.
God, I didn't
Uh,
realize that it's only been 3 years. It seems like, uh, I don't know, in my head when I see you, it's further. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
so yeah, it's only been just under, yeah, under three. It's still under 3 years. But yeah, I was 41 years old. My wife and I, we originally came from Georgia, and we lived in Dallas for almost 10 years. And then we moved down to Fredericksburg, down to the hill country. Business has been good. Life has been good. I had won a world championship in jiu-jitsu at the age of 39 or 40 years old. I was very happy with who I was and where I was, but I was also, a bit cocky. And
Is
yeah,
39 old to win jujitsu?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So there's age divisions,
Right.
but I was only in Masters 1, which is pretty much like the mid 20s to mid 30s guys. Um, and they're actually kind of a terrifying breed of people to compete against because the young guys typically tend to have a bit more athleticism, but they also don't have as many miles on the road as some of the guys that have got a little bit more behind them. So those guys in that age bracket are kind of terrifying, in my opinion, because they've got enough mileage on them that they're tough as nails, but they still got enough of that youth and athleticism at the same time. So, but yeah, so winning a world championship was in my division. And, it was really cool experience because I had actually taken state runner up as a kid. And it was one of the things that you hold on to in life. You're like, man, I wanted to get that one back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I came up just shy by 2 points when I was in high school, and so coming into this, I didn't even want to do it. My coach was like, you know what looks really good on a resume. He was like, I think I'd won a pro fight and had been successful in my other combat stuff, and he's like, I think you need to do this. I think you need to challenge yourself. I don't think you're being challenged enough. I'm like, Coach, we're moving to Fredericksburg, driving back and forth, doing all this. I'm like, well, do I really need to be doing this in the middle of all that? And so, but that's what good coaches do, right? They challenge
They
us.
push you. Yeah.
Yeah. They see when you're coasting, and they encourage you to step out of that comfort zone. And so I did, and had a brutal bracket. It was really, really tough. I had a crazy cool match against a guy that had won every major tournament in the whole year. He had won every major tournament. He was number one in the world. And I'll never forget the moment I won the final. It was before I even stepped on the mat for the final match. The guy I beat in the semifinals had a crazy, crazy cool match. I was up by 2 points and my team is all going crazy and they're like, sit down, pull guard. And I'm like, no, I'm taking this back to the mat. And the guy tried to move and I ended up flipping him over and kind of hitting him with like a throw and winning the match. And it was like, everybody went crazy. It was like that movie moment of your life. I hope everybody has one of those in their life, at least one. And I was just like, I felt like I was like on the Mighty Ducks, I was like, whoa, let's go.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget. I never look up my competitors because I don't care, because it's about whether I was prepared and whether I put in the work. And there's this old song that I love. It's by a guy called Roy Jones Jr. And but it says, "You will not win because I will not lose."
Interesting.
And so, I think too many people focus on their competitors instead of focusing on themselves and their own growth. And I think people do that in life in general every day. And I'll never forget, they have this area called the pit, and you're getting warmed up and everything, getting ready for your next match. And the guy that I was about to go against, looked over. He's like, dude, he's like, do you see the guy? He's like, do you know who you just beat? I'm like, I have no idea. He's like, that's like the current Grand Slam champion. That guy's won every tournament this year. And he's like, and you just smoked him. And that was the moment I knew I was going to win the world championship, because that guy was already in his he was already in his head. He already had decided in his mind that
you were going to win.
That I was going to win, that I was going to beat him. And I did handily. Took me like maybe 90 seconds, I think. And but that's the thing, is I think mindset is everything. If that's one thing I've learned through all of this and through this story and through what happened, is that it is absolutely, mindset is everything. Your body follows what your brain says to do, right? If your brain doesn't command it, if your brain commands a certain way, or, there's just so many different ways I could go into that, as far as manifestation. I truly believe in manifestation, right? If you believe, then so it will. And it's actually gotten to the point now where I'm kind of terrified of it. I have to be very careful, because if you do it negatively too, that happens too, right?
Yep.
So, but anyway, so that's
now
kind of
you're
who
a
I
badass.
was.
You're a champion.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd gotten there. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, I'm had you on to talk. I want to hear it. I want other people to hear your story. I was telling the people in my office, I was like, oh, I cannot wait for you guys to hear his story. It's so good.
Well, so that's kind of who I became. Getting picked on as a kid. One of the guys, true story. One of the guys that picked on me in middle school actually later became a Dallas Cowboy. Guy was an actual NFL player later on in life. That's how I was literally getting picked on by multiple D1 and NFL athletes in my middle school. I won't name his name because I don't want to put it out there on the poor guy, because he's retired now. He's a nice dude, but yeah, I mean, I literally got whooped on by NFL players, and so it's like it created this thing in me. It created this grit that it's like, you know what? Maybe I watched too many Disney movies, and I'm like, I just refuse to quit. I'm just not built that way. And so yeah, so life was good, business was great, had a world championship, had that up under my sleeve. And I had a wonderful wife who you all have met. I'm incredibly blessed. Shout out Steph. Like, I have the greatest wife in the world. Um yeah, and so, I got cozy being cocky. And so I would pull up to the gym. I got myself a Ducati. It was like my reward for like making it where I wanted to be in life. And so I was like, the Fredericksburg like town badass guy. It's like I just rode around. I was all jacked up, um and so then June 3rd happened. June 3rd, 2023 happened, and everything changed. Uh, we had finished a Saturday practice with my students, and Steph had come up to Dallas. She'd gone back up to Dallas for a wedding that she was handling. She works in the bridal industry, and she was doing a wedding with one of her coworkers. And one of my students was getting married that day. So we got done with practice, went and did chips and queso and sweet teas at the local Mexican restaurant that we always go to. It's like our thing. And I text the guys. I said, "Hey, yeah, I'll be there in 20 minutes." And I hopped on the bike, and I never got there. And so I was driving around. I was 3 minutes away from the location. I was in the back roads of the hill country in Fredericksburg. And there's this like long straightaway, just a very slight, just a touch of a little curve. Not strong or anything at all. And I was going a little bit faster than I should have been. I was doing 60 and a 45, so I was going a little bit faster. We still 100%, I have to take accountability for my own faults and what I've contributed to myself in this. But yeah, so I was going a little bit fast, and there was gravel in the road. I didn't see it. There was gravel that had been washed out in the road, and I didn't see it. And my rear tire of my bike slid out. I was very slightly curved. Rear tire slid out, and I'd been riding a long time. I was able to save it. But then my rear tire hooked up, it caught, and it was really uneven pavement, and it caught, and it high-sided me, catapulted me out of the curve at 60 miles an hour, chest first into a cedar tree. Ugh. On impact, it broke all my ribs, punctured both my lungs, lacerated and ruptured my kidney, spleen, and liver. It herniated my stomach out of my back and what's called a lumbar hernia. It split my hips in half. Something hit my legs. We're not sure exactly what it was, if it was the bike or what it was, but my legs were the equivalent of getting hit by an IED. Doctors literally stated from the doctors themselves. And I hit so hard, I bounced approximately 50 feet away and 30 feet down into a rock ravine off the side of the road.
Yikes.
Yeah. So my very first thought when I hit, and it knocked the wind out of me instantly, right? I vomited in my helmet, and I landed, and I didn't realize how bad it was. And my very first thought, right? Here's the arrogance. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna have to show up at this wedding all tattered up and all like bloody and like looking crazy. That was
You
my
thought you
first
were
thought.
still gonna go to the wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And so, like, I don't know if women have the same thing as guys too, like this invincibility complex that we have. Um, but guys, we have that thing, right? It's like we think that we're gonna live forever. We think we're invincible, and so I was like, oh man, that one hurt. I'm like, all right, oh God, all right, get up, get up, and I'm like, oh God, I can't get up. And that was the moment when I looked down and I saw my legs, and that was the moment that I realized that I was not invincible anymore. It was that moment. And so I look down and I see my legs, and I won't describe them as graphically as they appeared, but let's just say that you could see bones.
Okay.
and a lot of them.
Wow. Okay.
And so, so I realized, okay. And then I saw the blood, and then I realized, I'm like, oh God. And I tried to move and I couldn't move. I was kind of pinned upside down, in the bottom of the, this kind of washout, down here. And I was like, oh God, I can't move. And so the first thing I do is panic, and I start yelling, and I hear like I can hear a car coming by up above, and I start yelling. I'm like, hey, hey, help, hey. Car goes by, nothing. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, nobody, they can't see me. I'm too far down. They can't hear me. All right, I'm gonna die. It's over. Like, it's over. And so I think my second emotion that really hit was, um, well, I guess the second was the fear. All right, the fear, and then the pity.
Mm.
And I just was like, the hopelessness. Like, you're not getting out of this, dude. Right. Um, and so I kind of resolved myself to it for a second, and then I was like, you know what? No, nope, no, no. Jay, get up. Jay, get up. Jay, get the F up. And so I was like, I don't know. Like, so I reached down and I wiggled. Well, first I like wiggled my shoulders free. And then I reached down with my hands. And I picked up my legs with my hands.
So this
And
is the question that I literally, when I heard this story, and I would repeat it, and I would say, he picked up his legs.
yep.
And everybody goes, how? How do you pick up your legs? And then, because you're about to start crawling, right? Like,
Yep. Mhm.
like, what are you doing with them? How? And I
So
know this is kind of graphic, and if you
yeah,
don't want to
it's
say,
okay.
that's fine, but
Yeah. So when you're
are they
pinned,
connected to your body?
mostly,
Okay.
so they're still connected, but they're pretty ragged, right? They're floppy.
Mm.
Like, let's just say they're floppy. They're like noodles, right? So
Does it
basically,
hurt real bad?
oh yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
shock had kicked in and it was pain on top
Yeah.
of everything else. And
Yeah.
panic, like, holy crap, my legs, my
Yeah.
legs.
The panic, yeah. The panic was what hit hard at that point. And so basically from my knees below were basically like noodles.
Okay.
And so I
So your
there we go.
knees below were
Um
noodles.
we're basically noodles. And so I was pinned upside down, kind of like at an angle. And so I wiggled my shoulders out. And then once I was able to get my shoulders free enough to where I wasn't like upside down, so where I could sit up, I got myself sat up enough to where I could grab my legs and I pick them up and move them over so I can start working my way to get my back up against the hill so I can get on my stomach to start trying to crawl out of the hill.
Oh my gosh.
So that's where I had to pick them up. So I didn't like pick them up and throw them over my shoulder. Um, but I had to pick them up, and because I couldn't lift them on their own, I had to pick them up and take my hands and move them physically over. And
Yikes.
so, you know, the meat and the bone, like, right. And so all the years of jujitsu, right, had kind of saved me, because there's two things that wrestling and jujitsu teach you. Wrestling teaches you grit.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu teaches you how to stay calm, because in jiu-jitsu, you're getting choked out, right?
Mm.
And everybody does one of two things typically, right? When you're faced with something like that, you either panic and spaz or freeze up like deer in headlights.
Mm. Okay.
And so, after doing jujitsu for almost 20 years, once you've been put in, choked unconscious or nearly unconscious a few thousand times, it helps you kind of train how to get control of that. And that's what allowed me to get control of that panic and start working my way out of the situation. You can't, and so first lesson here, right? You can't control your environment. You can't control the situation until you can control your own mind first. If you
Mm.
can't get a hold of your own mind, you can't get a hold of the situation. And so that's what saved me, is being able to do that. And so I grabbed my legs, wiggled myself around, got onto my back, and then I was able to turn back over onto my stomach, and I got on my elbows and I dragged myself around 50 feet up and out of the rock ravine to the side of the road to get help.
Oh, gosh.
And so, yeah. And, the first guy that stopped, he looked over across the road, middle-aged guy. And I don't know if I even told you guys this
You
at
did.
the thing. I don't know if you would want me to share that part.
Yeah, I do. But you
That's
can
the tea, right?
yeah, you can save it for when it comes up. But yes, I do. For
So,
sure.
but yeah, right. So the first guy looks across at me and he says, "Hey," he sees me lying on my back, looking up at him and bleeding everywhere. And the guy looks across the road, and he says, I can call 911, but I can't stay." And I'm just like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm dying. Like, I'm literally dying.
Yeah.
And up behind
Did he
him,
seem panicked? Like, did he have, because they say that sometimes, and I'm trying to make an excuse for this, honestly, but that
no,
sometimes
I think it's
people
fair.
get in front of like, what is it, the CPR thing where people won't do mouth to mouth because they're scared and they panic. Did he
Yep.
seem like he was panicked or like he had somewhere to be?
He did have somewhere to be. And we later found out where, because there was only two things of interest on that little road that I was on. One of them was a wedding venue, and the other one was a small Latino community
Okay.
that was over there. And the first guy that stopped was like a middle-aged guy, and nice truck, nice, like, F-150, F-250, nice truck. And he was in a blazer, and he looked like he was going to a wedding. And then so yeah, so that guy, said that and then started pulling off, and then behind him pulled up my guardian angel. Um, this little guy pulled up in a little two-wheel drive, little short bed, little pickup truck. It was like a Nissan or a Toyota, like a
Mm-hmm.
little old 80s little farm truck, right? And out pops this little Latin guy, maybe 145 pounds, soaking wet, small guy. We're down here in Fredericksburg in the fields and everything. He may or may, he probably worked in, one of the wineries from one of the fields out here. And he comes across the road. I mean, he looks like he's got more miles on him than the truck does, right? And he comes across the road and he sits Indian style next to me by my shoulder and sits down next to me, and he dials 911 on his phone and sits there and holds it next to me for me so that I can talk to the operator. And
Oh.
he stayed there until the paramedics got there, and they got there pretty quick, within 10 minutes or so. And then he disappeared, and we've never been able to find him ever since. And we've tried.
Shut up. Really? You can't
Yeah, we
find him?
we tried. We tried and tried. We've not been able to locate him. We don't know if maybe he didn't want to be located. I mean, right? I
Mm,
mean, for those
maybe he
who
was just
are,
visiting for the day.
yeah, we don't know.
Oh, he really
Um,
was your angel, wasn't he?
yeah, right.
Bless him.
And so ambulance showed up, right? They care flighted me down to Brooke Army Medical Center down in San Antonio.
Mhm.
And then I was kind of starting to go in and out a little bit in the helicopter, but you know me well enough to know it's like I was talking smack the entire way, right? It's just how I am. And then we got to the top of the helipad, and they're putting me in the elevator, and the doors are about to close. And I was like, "Oh, wait! I forgot. My wife's name is Stephanie. Her number is bop 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 bop." And I was like, "Please call her. She's gonna be so pissed."
She's gonna be so mad.
And that was the last thing I remember. They closed the doors, and then I woke up a few weeks later, and realized what had happened. I couldn't talk. I had a
Because you
trach
had the
in,
trach. Yeah.
and so I couldn't speak, and everything changed. But I'm not mad about it. Uh, I
Did
think
people have
that,
to make decisions for you while you were asleep?
yes,
Yeah.
I woke up without my leg.
Mm.
Not then, but shortly thereafter. They amputated my left leg, and they took about 50% to 60% of my right calf. And they were able to they were able to salvage most of my right leg, but I've got only about 40% use of my right leg. But yeah, I mean, and I think that's the thing when you look at scenarios like this, right? When you talk about the decisions that were made, had to be made for me. People look at my story. I'm like, this isn't my story. This is our story. Like, think about the caregivers, right? Think about what Stephanie had to deal with.
Yeah. Did she
Right?
have to make that decision without you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was she real mad then?
She wasn't mad.
No.
She just wanted me to
Was she
stay
scared?
alive. Yeah.
Well, yeah, stay alive for sure. But was she scared with like, oh my God, when he wakes up and says,
Yeah.
what did you do to me? Right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
terrible.
She was very scared about that, actually. We actually had many discussions about that. She was very scared that that I was going to be upset and I was going to be angry that she made that choice. But she's
Were
like,
you?
no, I
Yes,
was.
no.
No, I wasn't upset with her because I knew why she did it, because I
Yeah.
trust her. I trust my wife, and I know that she knows me, and she knows that she would have only have taken it if there was no other choice. And
True. But there's that moment when you're like, no, honey, I'm not mad. I'm not mad, but I am.
but
Right? Like,
inside you
you
kind of are
shouldn't
a
be
little bit.
mad, but you are mad, right? You lost
Yeah.
your leg, right? Like, so there's
Yeah.
a step. I mean, as a wife myself, I'm like, no, you get to be mad. I
Yeah.
understand it. I know that you're not trying to be mad at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because
I,
it's a lot
yeah.
of things.
I was definitely shocked, right? So, because like
Yeah.
the initial thing happened, and then after the other care, I've been in there for about a month, of 5 or 6 weeks or so before the actual amputation ended up occurring.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, you know, it was a shock. Obviously, when I woke up and my leg was gone, it was a huge shock. Um, and yeah, I mean, if there was a flash, say there wasn't a flash of anger for sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely there was. Yeah, there was certainly a flash of anger. Um, but I was mad. To be honest, I wasn't mad at everybody else. I was mad at me.
Yeah.
I was,
That's worse, right? Because you can
yeah,
be so mean to yourself. You can say
yeah,
things to yourself you would never say to another person ever.
yeah. And I knew there were signs that I had. I had 3 close calls within the 2 weeks before the wreck. I had signs like there was. I'm not saying my bike was cursed, but it definitely seemed like it. It was.
Mm,
Every time in my life personally, I don't know if this is the same for everybody else. Every time I get something that I'm too proud of, it always gets messed up, right?
mm,
Like I get a brand new car that I worked so hard for, and then second day you got it, there's a big scratch on it, right? It's like it's always worked out that way for me. And so I always have to be very cognizant of my ego, because I'm like, dude, don't get too proud of that, because it's going to get messed up. It's
yeah,
going to get
you've got
taken
a
from you, right?
lesson coming. You've got a lesson.
And that bike was always like that from the day I got it, right? Multiple things had happened along the way, and I had multiple things happen before the accident. I was talking about getting rid of the bike. I knew I should get rid of it. I knew I should.
Yeah.
My heart told me, like, call it God, call it karma, call it the universe, call it whatever you want. Somebody was telling me. I was being told, like, hey, and I chose my ego, and it cost me.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson that I have to take, that I have to walk with, I just have to press forward in my life, but you have two choices too, right? When you're given that opportunity, right? You can either let it hold you back and try to use that as a crutch and use it for sympathy, which is my most hated emotion, by the way. I cannot stand that emotion. I hate it so much. I don't want sympathy. Um, you can either choose to go that route, or you can choose to use that to galvanize you and galvanize your resolve in who you are. If you will let these things build you up and strengthen you, then they will. If you let them weaken you, then they will. But the lesson I learned in the bottom of that ravine is that life is actually extremely simple. You have two choices. You can get up, or you can give up.
Mm,
And everything in between is whining.
interesting.
That's that's the truth, right? It's like if you're gonna give up, then okay, fine. Then just give up. Stop wasting everybody else's time, and more importantly, your own. If you're gonna give up, and hey, sometimes in some situations, sometimes there's some things you do need to give up, and that's okay.
Right.
But that whole gray area going back and forth and in between, that's not helping anybody. And if you're in an extreme situation like that, or just in things that happen in your everyday life and in your business, right? It's like, you got to make that choice. You got to make a decision. Stop being a sissy about it and make the choice. If you're not going to give up and that's not on the table, well, then stop whining and start getting up.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think as a business owner, there's many things that you get knocked down and then you get up, and every time you get up, you feel a little bit stronger for it. Like I would like the steel made of spine. I know what that means now, right? Because it does.
Yeah.
It feels like you have this armor. Mine kind of feels like a participation trophy next to the steel that you literally wear. Like, do you see it as kind of like, this is my superpower? This is because it has made you stronger in so many ways. Would you agree?
So I think this was my greatest blessing in life. And I hate to say that, because it's something, many times I'm like, man, why did I do this to myself? Or why did God do this to me? There's moments where I still have that feeling sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I have, there are moments. I mean, I cave sometimes and I have bad days, and I'm like, man, like sometimes the self-pity thing creeps in there a little bit, and you got to push it back out of there. And, but, I can honestly say, because of the way I carried myself, right? I was always genuine. My heart was always in the right place. But before the wreck, the way I carried myself, I think, actually disabled me from helping a lot of people I could have been able to help, because they saw a certain version of me, or they saw me in a certain light. They were like, this guy's kind of a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I actually care and love and genuinely want to help people, but because I'm come across a certain way, it disabled me from helping a lot of people. And the funny thing is that after the wreck, it actually enabled me. It definitely changed my perspective in a lot of ways. It strengthened me by giving me a different lens in life to have greater empathy and understanding that maybe it isn't always so cut and dry. Things are complicated, and not everything is black or white, right? Everything is a shade of gray in human life. And so, giving some grace to yourself and giving some grace to other people as well. You're never going to be perfect. They're never going to be perfect. Accept that and work with that. But, that it changed my perspective. But it's funny. I could say the same exact thing back before, when I was completely able-bodied, and say that same thing now, and it goes from, oh God, you're kind of a jerk, to, oh my God, you're so strong. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I said the same thing. And so it actually enabled me to take myself down a few pegs, or a few hundred pegs. And it actually enabled me to help more people.
Well, you were off your
in
path.
that regard. Yeah,
like literally, you were thrown from your path, and you had to make the choice to come back to your path, right? And so talk about 8 months after, I think it's 8 months after this happened to you, you started your nonprofit, right?
Yep.
Will you talk about that a little bit?
So, when you go through something that traumatic, there's a couple of things that kind of get lost along the way, right? Well, one, the caregivers, right? I mean, think about this, right? And I just want people to put themselves in Stephanie's shoes for a second. Think about if your spouse just dropped off the face of the planet right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't call them, you can't talk to them, and your spouse, who is your primary provider, has multiple businesses. You can't access their laptops. You don't know what the right passwords are for phones, or or for files, or for paying everybody, right, for payroll. I mean, all of a sudden now you just had all this put on your lap, and now you have to make all these traumatic life or death decisions for that person, and you have to
run
do
a
it.
business.
Yeah, all these things, and handle all that emotion. And then you got all the family members, right, that don't get along, that are showing up and fighting over who's there, and the people that make it about themselves and about how they can turn this tragedy into bringing attention to them. I mean, this is people. This is all the different kinds of people you deal with in life, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds. And those people all show up. Everybody's suddenly the best friend. Oh, that was my best friend, right?
Yeah.
That thing happens, you know? And so all this is happening around my wife, and she's trying to handle all this, and she's trying to handle it all alone. Think about that. That person is now handling all that alone, not as a team anymore, by themselves, alone.
Okay.
And she learned the same lesson that I did in that bottom of that ditch. She learned the same lesson. And this is the unfortunate truth. And apologies for the small curse word. When shit hits the fan, nobody's coming to save you. You have to save you, not your spouse, not your kids, not your parents. You have to save you. You have to pull up your pants, right? Suck it up, buttercup. And that is one of the unfortunate truths, but greatest freedoms in life I ever learned. Right?
Then you don't have to wait on anybody else.
Yeah, right?
You just got to do it.
It was very lonely, right? When you think about that, it's kind of
Yeah.
lonely. You're like, wow, man, like I'm alone. And yes and no. You are alone in that you cannot expect anybody to save you. You have to take accountability and ownership of your own life. And if you don't, then other people, like, are you living your life or are you living everybody else's life? Did you buy that Ferrari because you wanted to drive a Ferrari and have a cool car because you wanted to just drive the crap out of that Ferrari? Or did you buy it because what you thought everybody else was going to think about your Ferrari?
Right.
Right? Are you living your life because of you and for you? Or are you living it for everybody else?
Interesting. So AmptUp, how does AmptUp come into this?
So, when we're in the hospital, there's a lot of nights where, visitors aren't there at night when you're in the hospital, right? And so when you're there for an extended period of time, at nights are the toughest parts because one, you can't sleep because you got nurses and people coming in and doing tests and waking you up and putting stuff in your spine to like do x-rays and all this stuff. So you never really get to really sleep. You basically get it dropped into this kind of like, this insomniac state. But I always had the the beauty of knowing that my wife went from Fredericksburg to San Antonio every day and then eventually got an Airbnb and stayed down there. I always had the hope of knowing that when I woke up in the morning, when all my stuff were done and I got through all my procedures and everything, I got to see Steph. And she is the reason I'm alive. If it were not for her, I would have given up. I would have quit. And then I realized, being in the hospital, how many other people that were there didn't have anybody there for them. They were completely alone. And so, yeah, it's up to us. And yeah, we're alone. And yeah, we have to do these things in our lives. But it doesn't mean that just because nobody's coming to save you, it doesn't mean you have to be alone.
Got it.
Right? As an entrepreneur, right? It's up to you. Nobody's coming to save you, but it doesn't mean that you don't walk the path side by side with other entrepreneurs that are doing the same thing too. So there's comfort as humans. There's comfort in not just simply not being alone. And so that was the first thing that we really saw. The second thing that we saw was that, the support for the caregivers, there was no support for these caregivers. The third thing that we saw was that, when people have amputations and these traumatic things, these life-altering events, they give you physical therapy and stuff to a point, but for the most part, it's pretty much like, hey, cool, got your leg, have fun.
Good luck. See you later.
Right? And you're like,
yeah,
okay, I
and
got
that's
the
a big
boot.
mental shift too.
Yeah. Right? And so that's what AmptUp was about amplifying people, amping them up, helping amputees and their families. That's what it's dedicated to, is to kind of fill that gap, because that's where we saw there was a very clear gap. And there's visitors that are, for hospitals that are professional visitors and everything, but there's very, very few of them. And a lot of them are they're very nice people, but they aren't people that have gone through what you've gone through. And I think that there's a lot to be said when you can have a conversation and you can really, right, when you can really sit down and be seen and
somebody
have
who's
somebody
walked in your shoes,
yeah,
in your steel,
right,
in your steel prosthetic. Is it made of steel? Right. I think
titanium.
walked in your shoes takes in a whole other meaning when you think about what's in your shoes as carrying a prosthetic leg. Yeah,
Titanium and carbon fiber.
it's amazing.
And
It's kind of Iron Man looking, I gotta say.
it's
Like,
pretty gnarly. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, it's kind of real cool, honestly.
The kids, when I teach, because I still teach, I go to class, everything. When I have
Yeah.
a bunch of new kids, I have to sit down and do a Q&A session. And I have to explain to them that, hey, this is Voltron. And they don't get the reference because obviously I'm dating myself, right?
Right.
And they're like, what's a Voltron? I'm like, talk to your parents. They'll explain this to you.
Yeah. Because there's this moment, and I actually, I wanted to ask you this because, like, there's times when I go into sales meetings, and if I'm not quite comfortable in what I'm wearing, like maybe my top is a little low or my skirt is a little short, or I've got like a pimple on my face, it feels like there's like a spotlight going shunk right on that,
Yeah.
and that I can see people looking at it.
Yeah.
I have to think you're in a meeting, and what do you do, right? Because people are naturally curious, the kids are curious, but some people are good at it and some people are not. What do you do? Do you just address it first off? It's like, let's just take the elephant out of the room real fast.
Own it, right? This goes back to the mask, right? Take the mask off. Be like, look, you can see people can see what you're hiding up under your mask anyway, right? So they can see my leg. They can see your pimple. They can see it.
Yeah.
So just address it. Just tackle it outright. So I literally do that. I do a Q&A session with the kids. When I've got a bunch of new kids, I literally sit them down at the beginning of class. I said, okay, this is Voltron. Let's talk about it. And let's answer some questions. Talk to me. What do you think? And they're like, well, what about this? And they're like, well, what is your foot like? I'm like, it actually looks like a Barbie foot. It's like kind of rubber looking. And so I take it, I show them, I like whip it around backwards. I like spin it up here and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. And that's the thing is, right, people, in my experience, I always respect and appreciate people like that, right? And my mom always used to say this thing, right? The people that matter don't mind, and the people that mind don't matter.
100%.
Right? And so if you just tackle it head on, and it's like, hey, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but if you don't like it, I don't have to be your flavor, and that's okay. But this is who I am. And if it makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. We can adjust or we can address it. Luckily for me, being as remote as I am, most of my meetings are on Zoom. So the shock factor is when I've been working with a client for a long time, and then all of a sudden they see me stand up or something. They're, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, right.
Because when you gave your presentation, you were fully standing.
Yeah.
So you have one prosthetic limb and then you have a prosthetic foot, or did you save that foot? I'm not even sure, honestly.
So
and I was too weird to ask, honestly. And now I'm like, okay, sweet, I can ask.
I'm an open
right?
book. Yes. So my right foot is dropped. So I don't have the ligaments and the motion and everything. So I can kind of wiggle my toes a little bit, but I don't really have any function in it.
Okay.
So my right foot is still there, but I can't operate it. Except I literally like Kill Bill'd myself to the point where I like looked at my toe until I could move it enough. I can push my foot. Yeah, like the little toe wiggle thing.
Oh my God,
dude,
I love that scene. I forgot about it. No, I'm gonna have to go watch that movie.
That's a thing. Like they nailed that scene. That was so spot on, because I've literally had to. I call it my Kill Bill moment. I'm like, I gotta sit down. I gotta Kill Bill this thing for a while, and so I can actually push my right foot down a little bit. So I can actually drive vehicles now. Funnily enough, I can actually drive, and I'm good. But in order for me to walk, I have to wear like a brace that kind of holds my foot up, so I don't just trip on my foot every time I take a step.
Got it.
Thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so left leg is fully prosthetic, and I apologize. Actually, I would totally show it to you guys because I'm all about. I just got a new one, but I actually don't have it on today. But
I'll drop a picture. I'll drop a picture in
I'll show you guys my new one
and stuff. So yeah, so everybody can see kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. So I'll show you a picture. I got a really cool new one. It's awesome. But yeah, it's when you look at all these things, right, and you look at it's funny. It's like my set of challenges changed, but they're not any different than all the challenges we all face, right? It's like, I know, you guys look at me, you're like, oh, Jay, brave and strong. And I'm like, not really. I'm just a human, and I have a set of challenges that I need to overcome. And the only thing that's going to overcome that is my mindset, the same as you, right? Mine just maybe look a little bit different now, but it's the same thing. All the same things apply. All the same rules of the game they all still apply. Right. And so whether it's a pimple or a prosthetic doesn't matter.
Right.
But people can see it, and that's where people really mess up, I think, is pretending like nobody sees it. Right?
Right.
That's just weird. And then everybody's uncomfortable, and nobody can make good decisions because nobody understands where they stand or what the intel looks like, right? Give people the right, give them the choice in all of your relationships, right? Give them the choice. If you are in any kind of, in my opinion, any kind of business or personal relationship where you're not giving people good intel, fair intel, and honesty, then you're harming both of you. You're harming your business relationships. You're harming them because it sooner or later all that stuff comes out soon, eventually. So you might as well just get it on the table now.
Gotcha. I want to move over to marketing
Let's
pretty,
go.
but I have one. Do you want to buttonhole the story and do a callback of the first guy, or do you
Oh,
not?
sure. So
The first guy that didn't stop and said,
yep,
"I can call 911, but I can't stay."
yep. So um, so goes to the lesson I really needed to learn here, because I'll tell you, there's some people that take the high road and some people that get revenge. And I have traditionally in my life, I've been the one. I'm a fighter. I'm like, hey, you punch me,
You're a
I'm gonna
fighter, yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
punch you back a whole lot harder. And every time I've ever done that, every time I've been vindictive in my life, it's always come back to bite me later. Every
Mm-hmm.
time. I swear. It's like there's like lessons here, right? Right? It's like almost like life teaches you lessons along the way if you listen, right? So yeah, so a year and a half after the wreck, we didn't know who that guy was. And a year and a half later, I always questioned whether or not I remembered the events that occurred correctly, because this is a pretty traumatic thing that happens. And then when you do go into shock, and it's like, hey, like did I remember this right? Was this
Mm-hmm.
little Latin guy there? Was that white
Mm-hmm.
guy there? Like, do I have
Was I
this?
in a fever dream? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I literally have moments to this day after all. I mean, I'm like after all the surgeries and all the procedures and everything. Like I have moments where I literally am not entirely sure if I'm still alive. I manifest things so strongly now. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm actually alive. Like I'm
Interesting.
like, am because sometimes when you dream, you think it's
Mm-hmm. The
real.
lucid dreams, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so sometimes I literally wonder if I'm actually in a lucid dream state and I'm actually not here right now having this conversation with you. So something in my soul detached from my body a little bit through this process, and in particular in that day.
Okay.
Um, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? Um, so yeah, so a year and a half later, actually the student that I was having lunch with before the wreck, he was giving away a CrossFit tire, like the big tractor tires, that they flip. And he didn't have any room for it anymore, and he was giving it away, and he was giving away to this guy, and the guy saw the War Room, which is the name of our jiu-jitsu gym. He saw the War Room sticker on the back of his truck. He said, hey, you go to that and I wasn't there for this, so I'm paraphrasing this, but he's like, hey, you go to that War Room place? He's like, yeah. He's like, I know your coach. And he's like, oh, you know Jay? He's like, yeah, I was the first one that stopped when he got in his wreck. He said, oh, really? Now, keep in mind, this is somebody who is intimately familiar with the entire situation from literally from the minute that I left from him to directly afterwards. He's law enforcement here. And he said, oh, really? And, uh, and so he came back and he was talking to me and Steph, and he was telling us about it. And I said, Hunter, I don't want to know his name. And he said, okay. Now, my wife was like,
Oh, I want to
I
know.
want to know. I want to
Yeah,
know.
she needs the
And I
tea.
was like,
We need the
but for
tea.
me, right? I was like, what? I don't want to know, because I'm like, I'm at peace with this. I don't want to put a name or a face to point anger towards, because I've made my peace with this. Um, but it did put me in but Steph was like, oh no, I'm
Yeah,
going to go
no.
check this out. So Steph went and started pulling up photos from the wedding. And she pulls them up and she's going through them and everything. And she, goes through it, and she like finds the guy that matches the description and everything. And she pulls it up and she says, Hunter, is this the guy? He said, that's him. It was the pastor that was marrying my student to his wife that left me there.
What does he say about this? He says, I was the first guy to show up and call 911. That's what it's like. Everybody has their own stories they tell themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The stories that you told yourself about being bullied as a kid and
Yeah.
how it affected you later, how you got out of the ravine. And that guy says, well, I called 911,
Yeah.
but he couldn't stay.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Well, I try to give the benefit of the doubt, you know, like you said, right? Some people freeze up in those situations, the deer in
Yep.
headlights. I've seen it many times, you know, when I, you know, go through those exercises in jiu-jitsu with my students and everything too. And so I try to give the benefit of the doubt, you know. But I did have a question for Hunter. I said, Hunter, what kind of truck was he in? He's like, brand new F-150, silver.
Mm-hmm.
So it did reconfirm for me though that my recollection of the events were actually spot on.
You were like, oh, I do remember things right.
Yeah. I had everything correct, everything. And so we went to the rec site afterwards and we looked at it and everything. And so it actually was a sigh of relief for me because I'm like, okay, I didn't just dream this. This is what happened, right? So, but yeah,
that's a good story. So the cool
thank you
thing,
for letting me tell it. Thank you so much.
I love it because here's in insurance, and like most businesses, but insurance for sure, it is micro decisions made on a daily basis. It is a long game. It is small things that get things later, but it takes a lot of, oh my God, what am I going to do? And nobody's coming to save me. Those moments happen on a daily basis, and we need inspiration to go, am I going to keep doing this? How can I keep going? And so I think that was really helpful. But since you do have this marketing business and you've been very successful in helping thousands and thousands of people, if you could, for insurance agents, you know, there's a lot of insurance agents out there, a lot.
Oh yeah.
And so the agents listening right now, it's not just about getting clients. It's about getting the right clients and the ones who buy from you this year and who stick around next year and send their friends. And it's about, I don't want to chase my clients anymore. How do I stop chasing and attract my perfect ideal client to me? Can you give us 1 to 5 tips on ways that we can find those clients and manifest them? How can I manifest my best client to me, Jay?
Right. So first and foremost, I would say that you got to change the perspective of hunter versus farmer. You got to learn how to stop being a hunter and start being a farmer, right? If you want to bring people to you, right, they come for the crops, right? If you're hunting, you're going to them. And so I love, there's a term that we use in our business for my own team. I call them shepherd partners. And it's, you know, part of the way I met you is through networking, right? You make all these incredible connections and there's, you know, so we talk about shepherd partners, but ADHD, before I get to that point, I do want to say one thing about about being alone. If you are a business owner of any kind, if you're an entrepreneur, right? Insurance agents, marketing person, you know, a printer, a plumber, understand that you are not alone in the roller coaster, okay? Everybody that is an entrepreneur has a bank account that does this. It's okay. It's okay. Just know that, right? You laugh because you know it's true, right? It's like, we all know this. It's okay. So don't be ashamed of that. That's part of the process, is that happening. And when you start getting it up to a certain point and you get nice and cozy, that's about the time you realize, oh, wait, maybe I should be investing some of that back into this to take it to the next level. And then you watch your bank account go back down again, right?
Yep. And you ride that coaster again.
Yeah. And it's okay. You're not alone. Nothing is wrong. It's part of the process of being an entrepreneur, and that's all right. 2, shepherd partners, right?
Okay.
Stop hunting and start farming by learning who your shepherd partners are, right? A shepherd is somebody who tends to the same flock that you do, right? If you are a commercial insurance agent that primarily operates in the trucking industry, right? Well, then you need to be out meeting people, not just the people that own the trucking industry, you know, own the trucking companies, but you need to be talking to the repair shops that repair commercial fleets, right? They tend to your flock. These are the relationships that you need, because that person, you didn't just go hunt one, that person can send you 100.
Right.
Right? So laying out a specific game plan. I love doing this with my own team. This is how I built X8. Lay out a plan. Literally sit down and write out what 5 best shepherd partners are. What your 5 best are, right? So if, whatever line of insurance or whatever you work in, right? Identify who tends to your flock. Find who they are and find 5 of each of those. So you should have 20. So you have 5, 5 of each type, 5 people in each category. That gives you 25 referral partners. Now, how much more powerful is this group if you can set up and gel this group of 25 referral partners? How much more powerful is that than going out and finding 25 individual clients?
100%.
Right? Now you have a marketing engine in front of you. And it's very simple, right? Literally just lay out that plan, and it's free 99, right? It doesn't have to even cost you anything.
Just time.
Yeah, just take the time, take the effort. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up, is they think, oh, well, I'm just going to do this and it's just going to show up. Well, no, you got to put forth the effort. And this is a concrete way that you can create a plan and drive that effort towards something that will actually work if you put forth the effort.
What about branding? There's so much talk right now about, be your own brand, be your brand, be yourself, find your voice. What do you think about that?
Engage your core, right? As every personal trainer says, right?
Engage your core, find your brand at the same time.
Yes, right? So I think when you talk about that, right? I mean, they're not wrong, right? Like cliches and stereotypes exist for a reason. But it's more so about defining yourself personally, right? Understanding what you stand for. And I think this applies at a personal level too, right? Identify what your core values are, right? Like for me, genuine is my number one thing, right? Honesty, loyalty, strength, honor, courage, right? These are the things that I strive to exude and I strive to represent, right? So define what those things are. Are you the most cunning agent out there? Are you the best one at finding the coolest deals, right? Or are you just very stoic and very wise, right? Like, lean into it. Lean into who you are. Lean into that, right? Like people say, oh, be yourself, but they don't tell you how to be yourself, right? Identify what those qualities are for you and lean into them and use that in your branding for yourself. And that's the one thing I'll say where one of the number one mistakes I see insurance agents make is because, like you said, there's a bazillion of them out there. There's so many. How do I make myself different? Well, you start by focusing on your branding versus the agency or whether you're a broker or a captive agent. Stop branding the business that you work for. You'd be like, I'm a State Farm agent. Well, we literally just saw the president of the United
from
States.
State Farm. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's like, is it State Farm or is it Jake from State Farm, right? I mean, we literally just saw the president of the United States just, be like, oh, State Farm is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, this can have, if you are branding yourself as State Farm, well, that can have a significant impact, right? The macro things that happen with these companies can have a massive impact, right? So say, you work with Country Financial and they go under or they have some big scandal and 75% of your book is Country Financial. Oh God. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm.
But if people trust you and they like you and your prices are reasonable for what they're looking for, they're going to stick with you. But only if, one, you showed up and you were genuine, right? You actually walk the walk of what you stand for. But also 3, if you communicate. I think that's the number one thing, right? People are like, oh, well, I branded myself. I'm like, yeah, but did you communicate? Right? Are you the agent that I only talked to twice? When you set up my policy and when I had a loss?
Mm-hmm.
Are you that person? Are you that agent? Or do you have a consistent system to reach out? Because let's be honest, right? If you have a book of 1,000 clients, you're not going to remember every single one of their birthdays. That's okay, right? I remember all of my wife's favorite things, not because I remember them, but because I have a notepad in my phone that says Steph's favorite things,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you are not good at remembering things like that and handling that communication, well, create a structure for yourself to hold it to hold that strategy in place, right?
So you're
Put
talking about
reminders in your
creating
phone.
automations.
Yes, create
Yes.
automations, right? It could be something as simple as putting a recurring reminder and meeting in your calendar that says on the 15th of every month, when it's in the middle of the month and you're not at the beginning or the end, okay, go into my database and check whose birthdays are this month and send them a note right quick, right? Standardize yourself and your operations as a small business, because this is where big businesses beat out the little guys. They're much better at standardization and optimization. And if we want to compete in the world against the big boys, we have to employ and deploy the same tools that they use, even if it's at a very small level. So
Okay.
standardize those processes and make sure you're communicating, right? Don't be the agent that you only hear from twice, right? Because how can you tell somebody what kind of person you are or what you stand for if you care about them if you don't talk to them? Can your spouse tell you that they care about you if they don't talk to you about it?
Right. Okay, last question. And I want to talk about Google, because agents and everybody spends a ton of money on Google and they stress about it. Is Google finding me? How do I make SEO work? They're fighting a battle they can't win. What should
Yes.
people actually be doing?
Stop wasting money on SEO for generic key terms. Okay? If you are trying to optimize your own personal website as an agent, or your own personal page as an agent for, let's stick with the commercial insurance, right? Commercial insurance. How much money do you think that these companies, right? Insurance is one of the top 3 biggest industries on the face of planet Earth. How much money do you think these guys are spending? And most of them are backed by the other second biggest industry, finance, because insurance companies really make their money on the back end and the finance world, right? So do you honestly think, right, when, as a broker or as an independent agent, do you think that you have enough firepower in your bank account to compete with those guys?
No. Yeah, they've
No.
got much more than me.
Yeah, you don't.
So if I can't
So
do commercial insurance, what should I do?
So that's where you're going to localize, right? So create a Google My Business profile, right? It's free 99 again, right? Create a Google My Business profile for your business, right? One of the tricks that I love to do is setting up DBAs for customers. So set up a DBA that says, commercial truck insurance of Garland, right? Oh, wait a minute. Because that might be something at a local level that somebody might search for. And if that is the actual name used in your Google profile, now you can't just put that as your name in your Google profile. That's why you have to go do a DBA, but that's super cheap and easy to do with the Secretary of State. Go get a DBA, right? It says John's Insurance Company is now Commercial Truck Insurance of Garland. Okay. Well, now you can label that as your Google My Business. It's a sneaky little trick. And now you can show up at a more localized level when people are searching for things like that. But you got to start stepping into the niches, right? And understanding what those are, because at generic keyword terms, you're not going to compete with those guys. You're going to waste so much money. You're just throwing it away. There's a billion other places you can spend that money. But if you're talking about trying to get found on Google and things like that, then that's going to be how you're going to do it. Find the niches that you're really good at and lean into those, right? The same way as your own personality. Lean into what you are. Stop trying to pretend like you're something that you're not.
Awesome. Jay, thank you. 100%. I'm so glad you came on and did this with me. And I'm really excited. This is a good conversation. I hope it inspires people, not just for 10 minutes, but to give you a framework when you get down, because there's going to be moments, especially as an entrepreneur, you're on the bottom of that roller coaster, and there's times when you're like, man, gah, I don't know if I can get up. And you do, and you get up. So for you guys listening out there, if you want to learn more about AmptUp.org, and I hope that you do, I will link everything in the show notes. And if you or someone you love is navigating amputation or recovery, this is a really great resource. And if you want Jay's team working on your marketing, X8 Web Design is in the show notes too. And I'm just gonna tell you, now that you've heard a story, you're gonna have a hard time not hiring him. And for everyone who's in the build phase, the slow part, the part where the math doesn't add up yet, come find your next resource with us, the Long Game Insurance Podcast, Susana Gibb Foundation. And Jay, thank you again. I'm so, it's always fun to see you, man. I just love it.
Well, thank you for listening to a middle-aged man. Am I old yet?
No,
Talk too
you're
much.
just wise. Just wise.
Man, my mom has described me in many ways, but I don't think wise was one of them.
Well, every year, and I'll say this because it's my birthday today, and
Happy birthday! Oh my
why,
God!
thank you. So every year I'm like, I am that much wiser every year, right? And I think 40 it's interesting that you had this big moment at 40 because 40 is a big WTF moment for a lot of people. And you
Oh
were
yeah,
literally
yeah.
thrown from your bike. Like the universe was like, you will listen, you will change, right?
Seriously, yep.
But you're mid 40s now, and I'm in my 50s. And I got to tell you, the 50s, everybody says it's pretty cool. And it is. It's pretty cool, right? And I do feel wise. So if you don't feel wise yet, you will, because you're like, man, this thing that I was stressing about in my 40s, why don't I just do this? Because
Yeah.
this is so much better. Why can't I get and it's like the ego's in the way. You got to get the
Exactly
ego
what
out of
it
the
is.
way to do the thing that people were saying to do. And in your
Yeah.
50s, you're like, yeah, dude, I did it. And it was awesome.
There's a phrase that I was given in this process that I love so much. And if nobody takes anything else away from this, it's the lesson I learned the hard way. But there's a pastor that was talking to me, and he said, "Ego is not your amigo." I'm like, man, I'm using that one for the rest of my life.
Yeah, dude, that one's going up on the wall. It's
Yeah.
going to, I actually have a neon sign that says, keep going. You've got this. And
Yeah.
the ego is not your amigo needs to go right next to it.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jay. Thank you to everyone listening, and we will see you again next week.
Have a great day.